breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours. We're chatting it up with Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, and we're going to discuss with him what we've all been seeing here in baseball now that we've gotten past the Memorial Day weekend, and now that we've got a nice sample size on these teams, which of these disappointing American League teams might be able to ascend. What do we make out of these struggling teams? Looking at you, the Tigers, looking at you, the Chicago Cubs as well, and then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you've got a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we have fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, largely I'm naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The demise of the Cubs continues. They have now lost 10 straight games. 12-1, the Pirates absolutely mollywhopped them. Jordan Wicks, first start of the season, not a good one. 8 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, taken deep by Esmeralda. Hopefully I got that correct. Valdez, his second home run of the campaign, and then Spencer Horwitz, 6th home run of the season. That comes off of Daniel Palencia, who gives up that home run in his inning of work. Ryan Rolson, unearned run, give it up in 1 2/3 innings. Hobie Milner gives up 2 runs in an inning, and Braxton Ashcraft, not a load of Ashcraft. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 1/3 innings. You had Dennis Santana supply a scoreless inning. Brandon Bedoy, he was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, so the Pirates get a nice easy win. And for the Tigers, I believe they've won now 3 out of their last 19 games. 10-6, the Angels get the job done. And for the Tigers, they're up 6-4 going into the 8th inning, and then they give up a 5 spot. Kadir Montero was more like Montero Bull, giving up in the course of 5 2/3 innings, 4 runs, taken deep in this game by Joe Adell, sets fire to the rain, 8th home run season. Then Will Vest gives one up to Vaughn Grisham, 3rd home run season. Jose Siri, how many home runs does he have this year? 1. That comes off of Tyler Holden. Holden gives up that home run in 1 1/3 innings. Will Vest, fresh off the injury list, he got 4 outs. He gave up 5 runs, all of which were earned. Brendan Enifee, pair of outside the bullpen, scoreless, and for Jack Kachanowicz, not good here. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. From there, Mitchell Ferris, he gives up a home run in 1 2/3 innings as he was taken deep by Wencio Perez, his 3rd home run of the campaign. But Jose Fermin, 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless. Chase Silseth, Kirby Yates, they were able to end scoreless 8th and 9th innings. For the Baltimore Orioles, they get the job done once again against the Rays. 6-1 the final. The Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings, probably his best start of the season. Grant Wolfram, Andrew Kittredge, both on the scoreless inning. Griffin Jacks, he gets jacked up. 3 unearned runs given up over the course of 2 innings. So part of that was on his own throwing error, so there's that. But you had from there Garrett Clevenger supplied 2 scoreless innings. Craig Kimbrell, yes, that Craig Kimbrell, a scoreless inning of his own. And then Trevor Martin, he came in, he gave up 3 runs, all of which were unearned over the course of 3 innings. The Rays gave up 6 runs, none of which were earned. So the team's ERA is still looking pretty solid. The amount of runs that they gave up, not necessarily so great. This was pretty great, though. The Milwaukee Brewers, 6-0. They're able to take down the St. Louis Cardinals, where the Cardinals absolutely nothing doing against Kyle Harrison. Only 2 strikeouts, but 6 shutout innings. From there, Grant Anderson, Ebner Uribe, Trevor McGill, they were all able to give you a scoreless inning. And then for Michael McGreevy, have to be grieving the fact that he gave up 5 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run. Home run to Jake Bowers, his 8th home run season. Then Garrett Mitchell, 3rd home run in the campaign. That comes off of Ryan Fernandez, who gives up a home run in his inning of work. Justin Brule, he was able to give you 2 shutout innings. And Mr. Matt Pushard, he pushed his way to a shutout inning, but too little too late there. For the Washington Nationals, they're back above 500. As for the Nationals, 6-3, they're able to take down the Cleveland Guardians. They continue to slug their way to victory. James Goodwood for his 15th home run season. That comes off of Joey Cantillo's not long for this game. 4 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings. From there, the bullpen was not too bad. Cody Hewer, 2 shutout innings. Sean Armstrong, Colin Holderman, they both give you 8 scoreless innings. You did have 3 innings provided in the MLB debut of Will Dion. He gives up 2 runs along the way, and Cade Cavalli, he was on it, 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Mitchell Parker from there, he does give up 2 runs over the course of 3 innings, but Nationals now 29-27, so break out the Nationals and the fact that they're playing some good baseball. The Blue Jays, they're playing some better baseball as well. They're now up to 26-29, 8-1. They were able to take down the Miami Marlins at Sandy Alcantara. 8 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, including 3 bombs. Jesus Sanchez, 6th home run of the campaign. Ernie Clement, his 5th. And then Hendrik Pinago, his 2nd home run of the season. Gabe Gibson from there, 2 1/3 inning scoreless. Braden Fisher, a scoreless inning as the opener. From there, Spencer Miles, 1 run allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Alex Macko, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Yorio Rodriguez, a shutout inning. Then you had 2 scoreless out of Tanner Andrews to be able to clean things up. Being able to clean up as well, the Atlanta Braves, 7-6. They take down the Boston Red Sox. Hey, the Red Sox actually scored some runs at home, but Spencer Strider, he was able to get by with 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Take it deep twice as you had Jaron Duran get his 7th home run of the campaign. So Don Rafaela, his 5th. A little bit later on, you had Dylan Lee give up a solo home run to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. His 1st home run of the season, gives up that home run in 1 1/3 innings. DDA Fuentes, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Robert Suarez, a squirrel setting in. Raciel Iglesias, a little bit sticky getting the save, gives up 2 runs in the 9th inning, but is able to get the save, and Ranger Suarez just right in this one. Matt Olson took him deep, 15th home run season, gives up 5 runs in 5 innings. From there, you had Greg Weiser, Danny Kalum, both land a squirrel inning, and then Michael Harris II goes deep off of Tyron Guerrero. That would be home run number 12 of the campaign. Guerrero gives up 2 runs over the course of his 2 innings, and you had a lot of runs given up by the New York Mets. 7-2, the Reds get the job done. Mets are back to 11 games below 500. Chase Burns, solid start here, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Juan Soto takes him deep, 11th home run season. Outside Juan Soto, not a lot of offense here. Sam Lowell, 5 outside the bullpen squirrels. Pierce Johnson, Brock and Rollberg, combined for a squirrel inning. Tony Santillan, squirrel inning, and David Peterson. Great name, not a great showing here. 11 hits, 6 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Sean Manaea gives up a run in 3 innings. AJ Minter, fresh off the injured list, he was able to give you a squirrel inning, but 6 of 16 were the Reds with men in scoring position, and they're able to very much get the job done here. Also being able to get the job done, the Walker Texas Rangers. After they were no hit just 24 hours prior, they get 10 runs up on the board here, 10-9 the final. Jason Alexander, no relation to Seinfeld, he manages to fill 6 innings despite the fact that he gave up an 8 spot in the 1st inning, gives up 9 runs. Credit to him for actually filling the 6 innings, but allowed a home run to Jock Peterson, 4th home run of the campaign. Evan Carter, 6th. AJ Blueball from there gives up a run over the course of 2 innings. For the Astros, you had Yordan Alvarez get his 17th and 18th home runs of the campaign, goes deep off of Jack Leiter, who he gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, and then Jalen Beaksey gives up a pair of home runs, solo home runs, in 2/3 of an inning. Also gave one up to one Mr. Cam Smith, 5th home run of the campaign. Jacob Lyons gives one up to Jeremy Pena, 1st home run of the campaign. Lyons gives up that solo home run in his 1 1/3 innings. Jacob Junis, shutout inning. So the Rangers, they find their way to victory. Also being able to find their way to victory. How about the Los Angeles Dodgers? They've had a little bit of a tough time with their offense at home. No issues here. 15-6 a final. Eric Lauer was great. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. He does give up a solo home run in this one to Hunter Goodman, 12th home run of the campaign. And then Miguel Rojas gives up 5 runs in his inning of work. And the position player throw, and he gives up a home run to Brett Sullivan, 1st home run of the campaign. Kyle Karros, his 2nd home run of the campaign. Between there, you did have Jonathan Hernandez give you 2 shutout innings. And well, for Kyle Freeland, this was not his night. 8 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, including a trio of bombs. Mookie Betts, his 5th home run of the campaign. Betts, who's really struggled, also goes deep off of Zach Ognos, 6th home run of the campaign. Ognos, 7 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings. And for Ognos, he also gives up a home run to Will Smith, gets Shiggy with it for his 5th home run of the campaign. Andy Paz off of Freeland, his 12th home run of the campaign. Kike Hernandez, his 1st home run of the season, and he left this game due to injury. That came off of Kyle Freeland. Well, you had Brett Sullivan be able to supply a scoreless inning, and then Wellington Herrera, a scoreless inning as well. So the Dodgers, they were able to make mincemeat out of the Colorado Rockies, and the Yankees made mincemeat out of the Kansas City Royals. 15-1 the final. Bailey Falter, boy, did he live up to his name. He got 7 outs and he gave up 7 runs, all of which were earned, including 3 home runs. Ahmed Rosario, his 5th home run of the campaign, and he would go deep a little bit later on off of Tyler Tolbert, home run number 6 of the campaign. For Tolbert, he comes in for an inning. He gives up 2 runs, both of which were earned. And then for Falter, he also gives up a home run to Cody Bellinger, 8th home run of the season. Also gives one up up to one Mr. Anthony Volpe, first home run in the campaign, and Volpe's not been hitting a lot of home runs this season. Lunar Avila from there doesn't give up home run, 3 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings. Steven Cruz, he would give up a home run in 1 2/3 innings of work. For Mr. Cruz, he gives on up to Trent Grisham, 7th home run of the campaign. And then you'd have 4 runs, all of which were given up in 2 innings by one Mr. Eli Morgan as well. And for Eli Morgan, he gives up a home run to Jazz Chisholm, his 6th home run in the campaign. For Cam Schlittler, he continues to be pretty rock solid. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Bobby Witt Jr., solo home run, 9th home run in the campaign. Ryan Yarbrough from there, 3 shutout innings. Being able to provide a lot of shutout innings, the Seattle Mariners, they get a 4-1 win over the Athletics. As for the A's, you had the MLB debut of the young gun Gage Jump, and he jumped out of the way after giving up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. For the Mariners, Emerson Hancock continues to be great. 1 hit in 6 shutout innings. Jose Ferrer, Gabe Speier both give you a shutout inning. Andres Munoz does give up his home run in his inning of work going deep off of him. It was home run number 6 of the season for Tyler Soderstrom. Too little, too late. And for the A's, you did have Hogan Harris with his squirrel setting. Justin Sterner, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Jose Suarez, 5 outside the bullpen squirrels. But by then, the damage had very much been done. And also being able to do some damage. How about what you saw out of the Arizona Diamondbacks? 7-5. They take down the San Francisco Giants. As Giants offense is starting to wake up a little bit. Eric Haas, 3rd home run of the campaign. That comes off of Kevin Ginkel. As Eduardo Rodriguez will give home up to Casey Schmidt. 12th home run of the season. Rodriguez, pretty solid in this game. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Ginkel gives up that home run in his inning of work. Juan Murillo run, give it up in his inning of work. And Paul Siebold does allow a home run to Willie Adames in the 9th inning. 7th home run of the season. But the Diamondbacks now 30-24. As Tyler Mahle, he continues to have a rough season. Not awful here. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Will give up a home run to Anthony Del Castro. 4th home run this season. Then Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte is starting to heat up. 9th home run season. That comes off of Eric Miller. Gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. Keaton Wynn, unearned run, give it up in his inning. Ryan Baruchi, he gives up a 1 run over the course of 2 innings. So the Diamondbacks, they polish that one off. Also polishing off a win, the Philadelphia Phillies, 4-3. They're able to take down the Slam Diego Padres. For the Pods, Randy Vasquez, not what he was looking for. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, taken deep 3 times. Bryce Harper, 13th home run of the season. JT Realmuto is 2nd, and Trey Turner down for what is 6th. From there, Bradley Rodriguez, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Wandy Peralta, Adrian Morejon, they both give you a squirrel inning. And Aaron Nola, he was pretty super in this game. He does give up home run to Manny Machado, 9th home run of the campaign, but 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Brad Keller from there, he gives up a home run to Ramon Laureano, 7th home run of the campaign. For Yohan Duran, he was able to get a squirreless inning for the save, and Orion Kerkering along the way, he had a scoreless inning as well. And for the Minnesota Twins, they get the job done against the Chicago White Sox, 5-3 the final. If you had over 7.5 in this game, well, that was a nice win. If you had the under, boy, that's rough, because Sean Burke was pretty darn solid. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Joe Ryan was pretty solid. 2 runs allowed in 7 2/3 innings. Montaka Murakami did take him deep, 19th home run of the season. From there, Andrew Morris, Anthony Banda, both give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels for the Twins. You had Taylor Rogers give you a squirreless inning, and then in the 11th, Yandres Gomez gives up an unearned run in the 11th inning, but the man that was really costly for the White Sox, Tyler Davis, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up in that 11th inning. For the Minnesota Twins, they were able to go 5-12 with men in scoring position. Sean Newcomb, 2 shutout innings. Brian Hudson was able to give you a scoreless inning as well, but damage by then, it had very much been done. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, much of the season has been an over season, but the unders have reigned supreme here recently. Over the last 7 days, unders are hitting at 54.3%, 50 unders, 42 overs, and if math serves me correct, we've had 1 push along the way as well. Favorites on the money line, they're hitting at 50%, 45 and 45 over the last 7 days, with 10 of those favorites not being able to cover the run line. And overall for the season, favorites are hitting at about 55.2%, 440 and 357 on the money line. And now we're up to 95 of those favorites being unable to cover the run line. And the over rate back above 50%, 400 overs, 397 unders. And if math serves me correct, 23 pushes along the way. So that's what we're all seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we all got on Tuesday. Coming up next, let's chat it up with one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson of the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets and Underdog Fantasy, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Rob Donaldson aboard. He does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, looking at this great game of baseball when football's in season. He's doing a great job on that front. I know that he, all 12 months of the year, also does an amazing job looking at the college basketball scene as well, and so much more. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at RobDFB altogether. And Rob, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. And I love baseball. It's an everyday thing, and because of it being an everyday thing, we get everyday storylines and very fast changes of the tide. And so you and I love this sport because it's just fun, but this season in particular has been all over the place. So I'm excited to be talking about it with you today.
Oh, you talk about all over the place in terms of baseball. Let's start with the Chicago Cubs. As we are doing this, the game for Tuesday is going on, but they gave up a 5 spot very early on to the Pirates. It looks like this losing streak is going to 10. What do we make out of a Chicago Cubs team that I think they've had 2 10-plus game win streaks thus far this season, and now they're on the verge of a 10-game losing streak?
It's insane because I'm pretty sure, and I don't know definitively if this is true, but it kind of feels like the Cubs have had the longest winning streak, or at least the best stretch of 20 games, and also potentially the worst stretch and worst losing streak in Major League Baseball this season. And that's exactly honestly how, well, not to this degree, but I kind of pegged this team as a very volatile team long term when they were raking the doors off early on, because this was a team that when you looked at the rotation being led kind of by Shota Imanaga, Edward Cabrera, I didn't really think it was sustainable. I wasn't a big Matt Boyd guy last year. I wasn't a big Matt Boyd guy this year, and he's been hurt. And so he's not even been a factor in this team. And the lineup, although it was very exciting early on, and I still feel like it's a pretty good lineup, it's one of those lineups where it's going to experience a lot of polarity because a lot of kind of upside pieces that were great last year and have a lot of optimism this year could just kind of dwindle out a little bit as the season goes on. And that's exactly what we've been seeing as of late. They are a very up and down team. And unfortunately, I think that's their long-term trajectory this season as well.
Yeah, it certainly has been all sorts of volatile for them. And is it one of those cases where we just need to be fading this team until they get a win or two on the board? Or are you willing to trust in a team like the Chicago Cubs, even with a losing streak, if the number presents itself?
I do think this team is still a good buy when they're getting plus money because, again, they are trotting out a lot of pitchers right now who don't command the top of the market value, right? You don't see the Garrett Coles, the DeGrom, these types of like top Paul Skeens. They don't have these types of top pitchers that when inherently, when that player is taking the bump, they're minus 170, minus 160, minus 150 favorite. And because of that, I feel like backing those types of teams leads to inherent value. And this is a team that when they do click offensively, and they are calling up guys right now to try to jumpstart this lineup again, that can sometimes be a really great recipe for plus money. But no, I think on a game-by-game basis, this is not a team you want to trust. It's just kind of in those vacuums when they're going up against a pitcher that they can really tee off on or a pitcher that's going to attack the zone. That's kind of where you want to pick your spots. And I do think that, kind of in the weeks to come, there's a number of different games where I feel like that's going to end up being the case.
No doubt about it, as we do have our good friend Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And it is that day, perhaps on Wednesday, with Jameson Taillon taking the bump for the Cubs and Bubba Chandler's on the bump for the Pirates. This is darn near a pick'em game. You might be able to get even money on the Cubs total is 8.5, because I definitely hear what you're saying. I don't think that you want to just fade a team because they're on a long losing streak, but man, I look at Jameson Taillon and he's really giving up the deep ball, and I don't think this is a time to think that they're going to bounce back.
Yeah, in particular, when you're looking at Bubba Chandler, like, sure, the season hasn't gone up to the standards that everybody's been lofting at him, and there's some lofty expectations, but when you do look at, I would say about 5 of the last 6 games for Bubba Chandler, they've been good starts. And I say good starts kind of loosely because he has been susceptible to the home run ball. The strikeouts haven't really been there, which is a calling card for him. Although he's coming off of a game where he racked up 11 Ks through 5 against Toronto. That was kind of the aberration this entire season. He hadn't been over 7 in all of his previous starts. But I think with Bubba Chandler, the very encouraging thing when you see a surface level ERA hovering around 5 is that he's limiting a lot of hard contact. And this is a guy that has that high upside strikeout stuff, who is very green to Major League Baseball as well. And so as the season goes on, I do expect to see some really, really big bright spots for Bubba Chandler, especially when a lineup like the Cubs are in some real disarray. So when you're looking at that and Jameson Taillon on the other side, this does feel like, again, a spot where you are betting against the Cubs. I just don't know if I can get there if they end up losing on Tuesday, because 10 straight losses, that's hard to be just like, okay, open fade season, let's just bet against them every time out.
Whew, it has been interesting to take a look at the Chicago Cubs, to say the least. And it's interesting to take a look at a lot of these teams in baseball, because we talked off air about the Detroit Tigers. I know you faded them in a few ways on Tuesday. And how do you take a look at this team? Because we talk about the Cubs free fall, and the Tigers are feeling very thankful for that, because I think that they had won 3 out of their last 18 games going into the day on Tuesday. By the time this comes out, it might be 3 out of their last 19 games. They face off against a Angels team that has been sad and pathetic, but Jose Soriano has been solid. How do you look at the Tigers? Both on Tuesday, it's about a minus 120 favorite, and just overall, with them being one of the biggest disappointments in all of baseball.
And when you look at this Detroit Tigers team, like, sure, Tariq Skubal's been out, and then when you're losing a guy who's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, arguably, it's hard to come back from. I totally get it. But it's not like they're hapless in the rotation. It's not like they're hapless in their lineup, even without a Gleyber Torres, even without Kerry Carpenter. For whatever it's worth, Javi Baez has been injured, now the lineup. And I think when you still look at this lineup, Riley Green's there, Cole Keith, the strikeout machine, is sitting there, but they have some young, energetic, youth players like a Kevin McGonigal, like a Gage Workman, who's been really driving balls as of late as well. But this team just can never find a semblance of offense and pitching on the same day. It just doesn't seem to ever align. And, part of that, I think, is just when you are playing bad baseball, the same way when you're playing energetic, youthful, fun baseball, it feels like you can pull out wins against anybody just because you have the power of friendship on your side. Well, when everything is in the doldrums and it's just like, yeah, this sucks. We're second worst team in the American League, and we're about to potentially be knotted up at the bottom if the Angels can win tonight because that's a team below you. Yeah, it kind of feels like the world is against you. Everything's terrible, and the world's caving in on you. And it kind of is for the Tigers at this point. This feels like a definitive seller at this point. And I think, unfortunately, when you look at the minor league system, the injuries, yeah, that's playing a part. But sorry, it's not really coming to save you. You have one of your best guys up right now. Max Clark isn't really kind of budding as somebody who's going to be an impactful bat for the lineup in the short term as well. So they're in a tough spot. I don't think it's going to get a lot better. And yeah, I think it's kind of open season on fading the Tigers right now.
Yeah, it has been rough, to say the least, with the Tigers. And I like what I've seen out of Casey Mize, too. Like, the guy that's going for them on Wednesday, that's probably the guy that you want on the bump if you have Tariq Skubal on the fold. But just nothing has been working out for this team whatsoever. And I feel like we could say that about so many American League teams. I'm looking at you, the Boston Red Sox, who got completely embarrassed over the weekend against the Minnesota Twins. Blue Jays are looking a little bit better, but that's been a rough ordeal as well. The Orioles, I expected a little bit more out of them as well. The Seattle Mariners, list goes on and on. Is there one or two teams that you look at and maybe there's a little bit of positivity to him for them? Because in the American League, aside from like the White Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays, it's been a lot of disappointment out there.
Yeah, truly. A bottom 5 team in the National League is a top 5 team in the American League. Heck, it's a top 4 team in the American League. That's the difference in polarity between the National League and the American League right now. And yeah, there were a lot of hype teams coming into the year in the AL. I mean, the Tigers were one of those teams. So were the Royals. So were the Red Sox. So were the Orioles. Heck, so were the Blue Jays and Rangers. Now, currently sitting here on May 26th, we have the Twins, A's, White Sox, and Rays ahead of all of them, and the Rays are the best team in the American League. So it's just one of those things that when you look at the dynamic at play and how many disappointments there are, it's tenfold. You can throw a dart and land on one and find a million different reasons as to why they're disappointment. But if you're looking for a team that I think can really kind of lift themselves out of the doldrums and they can potentially kind of do it in like relatively fast fashion, I think you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, and that's a team that just from the pitching standpoint having a Trey Savage, having a Kevin Gossman, eventually they are going to start. Dylan Cease is just introduced to the IL, but he will get back into the fold. Jose Barrios is a guy that's nearing his return as well. It feels like they are going to be a team that the attrition, in the early goings, having guys in the lineup, Santander, Barger, Kirk, that's also hurt the lineup. They will get healthier. It's obvious that they will get better. And once those players are introduced to the lineup, and the guys that they actually have in the lineup right now that are starting to pick it up as of late, you're looking at a guy like a Vladdy who still hasn't tapped into that power potential that we know he has. But Okamoto's been great. Penango just got called up. It's been great. There's a lot of really shining pieces in this lineup. And I feel like if we are to pigeonhole kind of one of those middling teams that's under 500 right now in the AL, to make that leap, I'm probably putting a lot of money on the Blue Jays to be that team.
Absolutely, and I think that they've got a good spot here on Wednesday, as well as you've got Kevin Gossman on the bump. Right now, he's about a minus 155 to a minus 165 favorite. How do you take a look at this matchup? Because I do think that even though the Blue Jays are at home, this might be a great run line spot, because I've noticed throughout his career, Yuri Perez has just not been the same pitcher away from home as he has been at home.
Yeah, and Yuri Perez is one of those guys, too, where you look at his surface level ERA, and I don't think it tells the full story of, he's been great for 4 innings and then has that 1 inning that's a blow up. And you should be kind of docked points in that department of having blow-up innings consistently. That's not a good trait to have, certainly. But when you see the upside, it's serious upside of him going out there and blanking a team for 6 strong innings. Now, kind of to that point, when you're looking at the Marlins on the bullpen side, and also, again, just factoring in that potential blow-up for a Yuri Perez start by start, it does lead me to the run line, because I think Kevin Gossman, even on an off day, goes out there and throws 6 or 7 strong for 3 earned runs or fewer. And, from that standpoint, and again, kind of crediting the Toronto Blue Jays with a lineup that's, I think, is budgeting on being there, that is a spot that I'm willing to take. And we'll see what happens tonight in terms of the full game and bullpen usage for the Blue Jays. But I do really like that run line spot there on Wednesday.
Yep, and I do think that with Kevin Gossman, he's a guy that you can really rely upon in general. And then I do have to talk about this one as well. This is a very interesting spot between the Twins and the White Sox, because I like what I've seen out of the White Sox. Now they're throwing David Samlin, who has went 16 and a third innings and 6 starts at the minor league level this year. 0.55 ERA in those starts, but 16 and a third innings and 6 starts. And the White Sox are about a minus 120, minus 130 favorite here against the Twins, going with Connor Prelip. How do you look at a game like this? Because with David Samlin, I just don't know what we're going to get out of him.
Yeah, and then ultimately that's kind of where it's like, do we jump into the bucket of just banking on the youth and the exuberance, like the same way the White Sox have been rolling all season? It's been on the youth and exuberance level of a Murakami and a Colson Montgomery, and heck, even a 26-year-old Miguel Vargas, just a young team that's really playing fun ball. And heck, they just brought up a guy who from the minor league level, Raikou Nishida. He's a 5'9", very small, very fast, very quick, good fielder who hits for contact. And he's a spark plug. He's like chugging beers in the locker room. Again, if you want to talk about a team that's the opposite of the Tigers, the world isn't against them. The world is for them. And they're just having fun and playing fun baseball. They can knock off anybody. That is the White Sox. And so will they rally around a young pitcher? Absolutely they will. He's going to have a support system. It's going to be up to him to kind of, sink or swim on his own when he's on the bump. It's about him and the batter in the box. I think from that standpoint, the White Sox are a team that I'm just going to bet against inherently, because they're still carrying price tags that do not warrant how well they are playing. I think truly, when you look back at the kind of the end of this season and who the most valuable teams were to bet on every single time out, I think the White Sox, I think the Rays, I think a lot of those teams that were billed as something that they turned out to be a lot better than are going to be the teams you see as the most profitable. So I'm not betting against the White Sox. I may not be enthralled to bet them on Wednesday, but that's a team right now that long-term I'm all about betting personally there.
I love it when you say young guy chugging beers in the locker room. That brings joy to my heart. That's what we need this summertime. And Rob, Is there anything else that you're taking a look at on this Baseball Wednesday? Because we've got all 30 teams in action. We've got a little bit of something for everyone, it seems. Anything else that's really standing out to you?
Yeah, and this may be a hill that I end up dying on this year, Greg. My tombstone may be planted at the hill of Bryce Elder. And I get it. You know, we've seen the worst of Bryce Elder in Major League Baseball, and maybe I'm just clinging on to what I've seen in past seasons. But also, when you look under the hood for every Bryce Elder start, he's racking up a lot of hard hits. He's just not really paying for them. I mean, the last 4 starts, or excuse me, you can go back very, very far, but it feels like every single time out, he is doing 6 innings pitched and 2 or less earned runs allowed. The only time he's really allowed more than 3 runs this season was during a 7-inning outing and an 8 innings pitched outing against these very same Red Sox, for example, back on May 16th. So he has fresh success against this Red Sox team that he's going up against tomorrow. I still am betting against them. No, I feel like when you're looking at the Red Sox and the price that they're carrying against a team that's sitting at the very top of the NL, this is the spot you pick to bet on the Red Sox because Connolly early is great. This lineup is starting to kind of come back into form a little bit here and there. And I do feel like eventually that Bryce Elder sort of blow-up outing is due, especially, again, when you look under the hood. So I'm looking at the Red Sox in a lot of different ways. Team total over, reverse run line, and also just money line. I think those are my favorite spots on the board here on Wednesday.
Yep, I do think that it's going to be really interesting to look at a Red Sox team that just frankly hasn't scored at home this year. Like, I just think there has to be some positivity with this Red Sox team at home in general because I've never seen a team hit so badly at Fenway in my life. So that's going to be fun to look at, and I feel like that could be a good spot for the over, and it's always a great spot to be able to get you on, Rob, because you're such a wealth of information. You do an excellent job on the baseball front, the football front, the basketball front, and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, it's always a blast talking ball with you, my man. I love this sport. I know you do too, and it rubs off every single time we get together. And for those who want to follow my bets on an every single day basis, Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
It's always great to be able to get Rob aboard every single time he joins me. He lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And it's always a pleasure to be joined by Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, and the Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. How about if we get things started? This is 901, 902 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. We do know that Dustin May is going for the Cardinals. It is to be determined for the Brewers with Logan Henderson going on the injured list, so this game is off the board. Have to imagine that it's Coleman Crowe who's being recalled for like the 3rd time in 2 months for the Milwaukee Brewers. They've done this a few times, so I'm going to assume that it's Coleman Crowe here. And I did set the Brewers out of -148. Right now I'm seeing that money line -145, -146. I'd be willing to lay that, not willing to go really sent more than that, but I'm willing to lay the -145 if we do indeed get Coleman Crowe. As for Crowe, it's a small sample size for him. I like what I've seen out of him, and just me personally, I've got faith in the Brewers pitchers and their just coaching staff in general, the way that they work on these pitchers. For Crow, in 2 starts, 10 1/3 innings, 2.61 ERA. It's a small sample size at the big league level, but only gave up 1 walk in those starts. And you look at what he's done at AAA Nashville thus far this season. He does have a 4.89 ERA, but he's getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he's clearly got some swing and miss. And for Dustin May, after a really shaky start to the season, he has been a little bit better. That said, you still have to have some question marks here. He's posting up a 5 ERA with a 3.89 fielding dependent. He's only given up 0.8 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff is way down, though. He's only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he has given up at least 3 total runs. Some of those have been unearned runs in each out of his last 4 starts. Got a Brewers team that is a bottom 3 team in all of baseball in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis, but as we know, this team does an incredible job in terms of moving the line, and plus you get back Christian Yelich, Jackson Trio, Andrew Vaughn. These guys are all starting to heat up over the team, especially with Yelich. 4 home runs over the last few weeks. William Contreras continues at a 300. Bryce Rang is giving you about a 400 on base. Even someone like Garrett Mitchell doesn't hit for a lot of average, but moves the line along. David Hamilton. And then for the Cardinals, this has been a top 6 team in terms of run creation away from home, with darn near 5 runs per contest. Jordan Walker carrying the mail, giving you 15 home runs, hitting darn near 300. But then you've got Ivan Herrera, who's been able to give you over a 375 on base. J.J. Weatherholt has been able to give you over a 340 on base. Mason Wynn, he doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of power or anything like that, but he finds ways on. For the Cardinals, you do have to have a lot of question marks, though, with this bullpen. They're still a bottom 8 team in terms of opening ERA. They send Matt Svanson down to the minor leagues. That's a good thing. You've got a guy in Ryan Stanek who's flying a 6 ERA. Justin Burrow more like a 5.50. But Gordon Gesefo, Riley O'Brien, JoJo Romero, these are guys giving you sub 350 ERA. And then for the Brewers, they've had issues with both Trevor McGill along with Abner Uribe, posting up ERAs north of a 375. But so you've got the likes of DL Turner, Paul, Grant Anderson. Now they've got Chad Patrick in the bullpen, Aaron Ashby. These guys who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. So with the Brewers, I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 147 on the money line. And I'm right now seeing this total at an 8.5, shaded down to the under. Semi-total at 8.4. So 8.5 or higher, in on the under. If this goes to an 8, would take an 8 to the over. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks. They're going to be on the road against the Giants. Trevor Old McDonald is on the bump for the Giants, and Michael Soroka goes for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks road favorites there between minus 125 to a minus 130. Meanwhile, plus 104 to a plus 110 is that number on San Francisco. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And set the Diamondbacks here at a minus 118. If you're looking to lay a run half with them, right now I'm seeing that more in the neighborhood about a plus 140. I would need to go to about a plus 145 here to be able to take a shot. If we can get to more like a plus 118 on the Giants, I'd be willing to look there. So this is a little bit of wait and see mode with regards to the side that I'm on, but I am in on this over. I did semi-total at a 7.7 for Trevor McDonald. It's been a small sample size at the big league level right now. 4.76 ERA, though it is just a 3.42 fielding dependent. He's done a good job keeping the ball in the yard. 2 home runs in 22 2/3 innings, and 1.6 walks per 9 innings. Was a little bit shaky at the minor league level, but looks like he's got quite a bit of upside there. And I do believe that Michael Soroka has pitched better than what the ERA would indicate. He's right now got a 3.27 ERA, so it's not even like it's that bad or anything like that. But fielding dependent right now, that's a 2.93, 9.3 strikeouts, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, 0.7 home runs per 9. Diamondbacks have been more of a league average offense thus far this season, with having Ketel Marte get off to a rough start, but now he's hitting above a 265. You've got Nolan Arenado, Corbin Carroll, who all entered into the series with 7 home runs, all leading the way. Ilearmo Vargas as well, but Vargas hitting above a 300. You've had Arenado be able to move the line. They haven't been able to get a lot out of Lourdes Gurriel because he was dealing with injury towards the beginning part of the season. You've seen the likes of Geraldo Perdomo, Gabriel Moreno deal with injury as well. So I do think that this is a Diamondbacks lineup that's going to get more lethal as the season goes along. And for the Giants, this has been a brutal offense as far as this season. They are 30th out of 30 teams in terms of run creation. Does feel like they're getting a little bit more out of Rafael Devers and William Adames. That's really not saying much. Both guys are so below at 290 on base. Both the guys are right around like 7 home runs. So you're going to need a lot more. But it's been better. Casey Schmidt has been able to give you double figure amount of bombs. He's hitting darn near 300, so that's been good. But they're dealing with a few injuries. Jung-Ho Lee hitting the injury list and leaving up to, frankly, Drew Gilbert and Harrison Bader. Pair of guys sitting below at 225 in the outfield. That's not necessarily a place where you want to be. Matt Chapman has been a big, giant, flaming disappointment for this team, so that's been awful, to say the least. And then you've got a Giants bullpen that has been solid. They've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got the likes of Yo Piguero, Caleb Killian, Matt Gage, Keaton Wynn. These guys will be able to give you a sub 375 ERA. JT Brubaker has been pretty good on a long roll. Diamondbacks slightly below average with regards repairs their bullpen ERA, but they're starting to find trustworthy guys. Paul Sewald is not one of them, and Kevin Ginkel, I still always feel like he's a bit of a roll of the dice, but Juan Murillo, Ryan Thompson, Jonathan Loaizaga, these are guys that are giving you a sub-4 ERA. I do think that you get just enough run creation, though, to be able to get you the over in this spot. If we could get a minus 115 or better, going to be looking at the Diamondbacks plus 119 or more. The Giants will probably have that determined when we get more of the timelines out, which I'm not having right now, but looking there with regards to the side and with regards to the total, like the over, did sum a total at a 7.7. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Cortez, the first Sanchez is on the bump for the Phillies, and you've got Mr. Walker Buehler on the bump for the Padres, and the Padres do find themselves as an underdog between plus 130, seeing as good as a plus 132 out there as well, anywhere between minus 150 to minus 155. That number on the Phils, 7.5 the total. The under is minus 110 to a minus 120, overs between even and minus 110, and for the Padres, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. I did set my price at a plus 124. Now, Christopher Sanchez has been absolutely lights out as far this season. He's right now getting over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, 164 ERA, just 2 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's given up less than half home run per 9 innings. He has been great, but I do feel like Walker Buehler has pitched much better than that 5.05 ERA would indicate. 372 fielding dependence, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And you've got a Phillies team that just has not been able to supply a lot of boom this far this season. They're in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, and there's just been nobody outside of Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper that's been able to step it up. For Harper, 12 home runs, over a 350 on base. Kyle Schwarber only hits for a 233. He's had nearly half his home runs fly over the fence, but still gives you about a 350 on base. On base for over 230 strikeouts, but when you're on base for 63 home runs, yeah, that's a good deodorant to that stink, but you just take a look at the infield for the team. Bryson Stott's now hitting at 236, but Trey Turner down for what? Alec Bohm, the entirety of the catcher spot, all hitting below 225 without a lot of pop is an issue. You've had Omando Sosa along with Adolis Garcia out there in the outfield be a massive issue, and Padres, they themselves have their offensive woes. They've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, but Gavin Sheets, holy sheets, he's giving you a 325 on base with 9 home runs. Manny Machado does have 8 home runs, not inning for average. He, Jackson Merrill, Freddie Fermin at the catcher spot, Ramon Laureano, all these guys running at 215 or lower. Miguel Andujar has been the main man to be able to move line, inning for about a 280. Fernando Tatis Jr. is honestly getting on base and swiping bags, but again, 0 home runs thus far this season. But for the Phillies, they're about a league average team with their bullpen ERA hovering right around 15th to 16th there. Yohan Duran has been tremendous with a sub-2 ERA. Ryan Kirkering has been able to give you some good innings as well, but Jose Alvarado, Tanner Banks, Jonathan Bolin, these guys are all very unreliable, and other than Adrian Morejon for the Padres, the bullpen has been very rock solid, and Morejon is starting to be able to pick it up as well. And then you've got Jeremiah Estrada back below a 350 ERA. Jason Adam, Mason Miller, there's such a great 8th and 9th inning duo that it's not even funny. Wandy Peralta, 222 ERA. I do think that you're going to get a very low-scoring game in this one as a result. Semi-total of 7. I like the under, and for the Padres, plus 125 or better, I think that they win a very tight one, like them on the money line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Pirates as Bubba Chandler is on the bump for the Pirates, and Jameson Taillon goes for the Cubs. Cubs are a underdog here of any between even money to minus 105, minus 110 to a minus 115. That number on the bump goes 8.5 is the total, over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. Do like the Pirates here on the money line. I set my price at a minus 137. The Cubs are now riding a nice hearty 10-game losing streak, and Jameson Taillon has been terrible. 520 ERA, 645 fielding dependent, 2.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's just getting banged around like a human piñata right now. Not like Bubba Chandler's been amazing. He does get about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 479 ERA with about 1.2, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. Needs to work on the command. He has been giving up about 6.5 walks per 9 innings, but it's a Cubs lineup that has went very cold recently. Now, you look at what they trotted out there yesterday, pretty much everyone aside from Pico Armstrong, along with Dansby Swanson, are giving at least a 320 on base, but you're not really having that man to supply the boom outside of Ian Happ. Happ right now has been able to give you about a 350 on base. He's up to 10 home runs this season. Say Suzuki has been able to give you a little bit of home run power, and Swanson, even though he's not hitting for average, he's been able to give you a little bit of power, but just feels like it's been a little bit touch and go. Alex Bregman, 344 on base, but you expect a little bit more than the 4 home runs. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, this has been a top 4 team in terms of run creation at home. You've got Nick Gonzalez sitting at 300. Brian Reynolds is supplying about a 380 on base. You've got a pair of guys, O'Neill Cruz, along with Brandon Lau, who've been able to give you 11 plus home runs thus far this season. Henry Davis has been awful this season, but he's looked a little bit better here over the last week or so. For the Pirates, it's a bullpen that has been neither here nor there this season. Dennis Santana, we've seen some issues for him over a 4 ERA. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez has been messed with, but Mason Montgomery's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You need Justin Lawrence to be better than the 5 ERA, but Gregory Soto has actually been very rock solid. And for the Cubs, they've been able to get some reinforcements in their bullpen as well. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, but Caleb Theobar is back. Kobe Milner has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Jacob Webb, I've always liked him. He and Daniel Palencia, a sub 285 ERA, does lead to an interesting circumstance. I just think that the Pirates really bang it out against Jameson Taillon. So I told it at 8.6, so I like the over, and I do like the Pirates up to a minus 136 on the money line. 9-9, 10 on the card. It's the Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on the road. They're facing off against the New York Mets. As we do know that Andrew Abbott is going to be getting the start here for the Reds. Right now for the Mets, it is currently listed as undecided. You do have quite a few openers in this game, though, with the Mets there, minus 120 to minus 125, even money to plus 105. That number on the Reds, 8.5 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110. Right now, Fangraphs has projected Tobias Myers and also Jonah Tong pretty much as a 1-2 punch in this game, so I've handicapped this accordingly, and I do think regardless, you're going to get a poo-poo platter of pitchers in this game. You could see some Sean Manaea as well, so I set the Mets at a minus 103. I'm willing to take plus 105 or better on the Reds. Pretty much any sort of plus money, I'm going to be willing to dive in there. This fully recognizing that Andrew Abbott has not been good this far this season, and for Abbott, I felt like it was a little bit of a fairy tale run last season because he's not necessarily the world's greatest swing and miss guy. He's been better recently, 3.97 ERA, 471 fielding opponent. The command has just been off compared to past seasons. 4.1 walks per 9 innings, down to about 6 strikeouts per 9, but he's also given up 4 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts. I do not think that this is going to be a mainstay for him, but I also do think that he's not as bad as he was towards the beginning part of the season, and I do think that Jonah Tong is probably going to be your main guy in this game. Again, you could have a lot of different pitchers, as for Tong in his first MLB appearance of the season, 3 shutout innings. He looked very solid there. You look at what he did at the minor league level as well. Like, he was completely lights out at the minor league level in 2025 thus far this season. He had been well banged around at AAA Syracuse, giving up 1.9 home runs, 5.7 walks per 9 innings, and if you get Sean Manaea, he just has not been effective coming out of the bullpen for the team, what have you, and it's just a mess right now for the Mets. Now, the actual relievers of the Mets have been solid. You've got the likes of Andrew Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley, who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Devin Williams just continues to be terrible, but Luke Weaver is rounding into form as well. Other than Devin Williams, it's been pretty rock solid, and then on the other end, you've got a Reds bullpen that they were number 1 in terms of ERA through the first month of the season. They're now outside the top 20, but it does feel like they're starting to be able to find themselves a little bit more. Tony Santillan over a 5 ERA, that's not great, but Brock and Roll Burke, Pierce Johnson, these guys hovering right around about a 3.5 ERA. Graham Ashcraft, he's been able to look a little bit better here over the last week or two. Sam Ball's the guy that I like as well. And for the Reds, they did a nice job in terms of being able to get runs up on the board early yesterday. And you've got a pair of guys that have really been carrying the teams. Cousin Sal Seward, along with Ellie De La Cruz, both of these guys 11 plus home runs, about a 350 on base. But now you get back Eugenio Suarez, who he had 49 home runs last season and spent much of the season on the injury list. Spencer Steers, I'll give you about a 340 on base. Dane Myers, JJ Bleday, these guys are moving the line, and that's big because getting back Suarez means that you can take out one of those like dead bats because you've had the entirety of the catcher spot, Matt McClain, Cabrian Hayes, so many guys at the bottom, TJ Friedel, that have not been able to give you too much. And for the Mets, this continues to be a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation. Marcus Semien and Bo Bichette have been about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop. Both are giving you sub 275 on base without a lot of power. Carson Benjay has been rounded to form a little bit more, ending about at 245, but MJ Melendez, Luis Torrens, these guys are in below at 230. AJ Ewan has been solid, but he and Juan Soto were like the lone 2 guys in the starting lineup yesterday, hitting above a 245 for this team. So I do think that for the Reds, they do find a way to be able to get the job done. Any sort of plus money, I'm going to be willing to take a shot here. And somebody tell it at 8.1, so on the 8.5, I'd be looking at the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Rockies. They're going to be taking on the Dodgers. For the homestanding Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani gets the start for them, and Tomoyuki Sugano goes for the Rockies. Rockies between plus 310 to plus 330 underdogs. Minus $4 and minus 420 is the number on the Dodgers. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 125, and the over is plus 105. Oh, man, I'm going to take a shot here on the Colorado Rockies. I needed at least plus $3 to be able to do so. We're getting north of plus $3 here. And Tomoyuki Sugano, he is due in for a regression. He's not really getting any strikeouts whatsoever. This number is just absolutely insane, though. And Sugano has not been bad this year. 3.86 ERA, again, due in for a regression. 5.10 fielding dependent, 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's only getting about 4.7 strikeouts per 9, but for this Dodgers team, they just have not been the same offense when they've been at home. They lead the league in terms of run creation away from home. 6.1 runs per game, 4.2 runs per game at home. Mookie Betts, I don't know what's happened, but ever since he had that illness last year, he has not been the same player. Additionally, for this Dodgers team, you've been able to have quite a few guys that have been fine, but you really haven't had that guy that's been magnificent. Shohei Ohtani sometimes does not it when he's on the mound, but he's been able to give you 4 on base, 8 home runs. That's a little bit down for his standards. We're starting to see Kyle Tucker move the line a little bit more, but Mookie Betts both have 4 home runs this far this season along with Will Smith, so he hasn't really been getting jiggy with it too much. Oscar Hernandez, he's getting on base hitting at 275, but again, he's been a little bit up and down as well. Max Muncy is dealing with a bit of an injury, and for the Colorado Rockies, they've been more respectable than they have been in past seasons. Now, Mickey Moniak has been out of the lineup, and he's probably going to be once again here, but Hunter Goodman is still supplying the boom with 11 home runs. Does need to be noted, he was the only guy in the starting lineup yesterday with more than 2 home runs. That's an issue, but you've got some like Tristan Freeman, Wooly Castro hitting between about a 252, 255. You're starting to get a little bit more out of Jake McCarthy, who came over from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and for the Rockies, you've got Antonio Senzatella has been really good in the bullpen, sub 2 ERA. I don't know where this has come from. They're dealing with Jimmy Harrogate, Victor Vodnik currently being on the injury list, but likes of Jane Nill, Juan Mejia, Brandon Bernardino, Seth Halverson, they're giving you a sub 450 ERA. Meanwhile, for the LA Dodgers, they are numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. This despite the fact that Edwin Diaz and Brock and Roll Stewart have been on the injury list. They had to throw on their Jack Dreher as well, but that said, Alex Vesia has been able to give you a 250 ERA. Blake Trinan has been able to round in form. Kyle Hurt, Will Klein give you a sub 3 ERA, and Tanner Scott, Great Scott has been pretty solid as well. So it's an interesting circumstance here. I do think that the Dodgers get going a little bit more with their offense at home, but I think that the Rockies can develop a little bit of offense against Shohei Ohtani, who's been great. Like, you take a look at Shohei Ohtani, and I would say that he's been a better pitcher this year than he's been a hitter, and I know that that's going to ruffle some feathers, but that said, you look at what he's done ever since he became a LA Dodger, what he's done as a starting pitcher, 178 ERA, 214 fielding dependent, 10.9 strikeouts, 2.1 walks per 9 innings. That said, I do think that the Rockies can get to him just a little bit. I like the over. I semi-total it at 8.7, and plus 298 or better. Sign me up for the Rockies money line. 9:13, 9:14 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Athletics. Luis Severino is on the bump for the Athletics, and Logan Gilbert goes for the Seattle Mariners. Mariners are a pretty good-sized favorite here, anywhere between minus 120 to minus 130. Meanwhile, plus 110 to a plus 115. That's your number on the Athletics. Sign half is a total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I do like the Mariners here. Willing to lay up to a minus 137 on the money line. Luis Severino just has not been the same pitcher when he has been at home rather than away from home. We have noticed big-time home and road splits with him over the last 2 seasons ever since he did get to Sacramento. As right now for Severino, 1.2 home runs, 4.5 walks per 9 innings with a 4.23 ERA overall, but that increase in ERA goes to 5.55 at home, drops to 3.38 away from home. And for Logan Gilbert, he has been superb away from home. 1.19 ERA with 1 home run allowed in 22 and 2/3 innings away from home. Down with the strikeout stuff. Last year he was getting over 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I recognize that the Seattle Mariners have really not been clubbing the ball this far this season for the Seattle Mariners. Right now they are checking in about 19th in the big leagues in terms of run creation with 4.1 runs per game. That does go up to closer to about 4.2 runs per game away from home. Having big dumper Cal Raleigh being out of the fold, that has hurt the team, but Luke Raley, he's been able to give you 10 home runs. You're getting quite a bit of good production out of Randy Arozarena as well, not necessarily hitting for a ton of home runs, but still lots of doubles, over 350 on base. Julio Rodriguez, 9 bombs, he's hitting at 260. Now you've got a lot of guys like Victor Robles, along Rob Refsnyder, Mitch Garver was filling in for Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, these guys hitting at 200 or lower, but Colt Emerson, they just called up their top prospect. I expect some big things out of him. And for the Athletics, you've been able to have Shea Langoliers continue to bang, 13 home runs, he's hitting over 300. He's been great, and plenty of guys, they're able to move the line for this team. Jeff McNeil is hitting about a 270. I know that they've been dealing with a few ailments and a few guys in and out of the lineup like a Max Muncy, Jacob Wilson, but that said, Carlos Cortez has been able to hit about a 340. Nick Kurtz continues to give you over 400 on base. Brian Rooker just has not not been himself this year, so we'll see if he can round into form. And for the Athletics, this is about a league average bullpen in terms of ERA. You've had the likes of Luis Medina, Joel Kuno, Hogan Harris give you a sub 350 ERA. Really don't trust in some of these long guys like Jack Perkins, and Mark Leiter Jr. is absolutely terrible in this bullpen. And then on the other end for the Seattle Mariners, they continue to be a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They get Matt Brash off the injury list. He, Gabe Spire, Edward Bizarro, Cooper Kurzweil, Jose Ferrer. These guys have been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Their biggest issue has been Andres Munoz as the closer spot. He's been able to round into form a little bit more. So I do think that this is a spot where the Mariners are able to get the job done. Did set my total at a 9.4. So I do like the 9 after the under and the Mariners on the money line. 915, 916 on the card. It's the Rays. They're going to be playing on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. Steven Matz goes for the Orioles. Right now it is sold to be determined on the bump for the Baltimore Orioles. This game is off the board. This is most likely going to be Chris Bassett, but they've been utilizing a lot of openers for Chris Bassett. So that's what right now the TBD I think is. And if this is the case, I set the Rays at a minus 108. Willing to go up to a minus 107 there, plus 109 at Redder, looking at the Orioles, and then set a total of 9.3. 9 or less. I'm in on the over 9.5 higher. The under for Steven Matz. He had a renaissance year last season, and he's been down a little bit thus far this season, but still, he's been able to do a more than functional job for Tampa Bay Rays team that they just continue to manufacture wins. For Matz, about a 370 ERA, fielding dependent, more around about a 452 as he has been allowing 1.3 home runs, 3.3 walks per 9 innings. Flip side, if you do get past it in this game, the command just has not been there. He's been a little bit better recently, but still 3+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 appearances. Overall, 551 ERA, 438 fielding dependent because he's not really giving up the deep ball. 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but 6.5 strikeouts, 3.6 walks per 9 innings. That's been a little bit less than savory. And for this Baltimore Orioles team, they've been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to crank out the offense at home. For Baltimore, they do find themselves in the top 8 in terms of run creation at home. And now you're getting Jackson Holiday back in the fold. That really helps out this team. But they still do have some question marks with guys getting on base, like a Gunnar Henderson, who's been able to give you 10+ home runs this far this season. 270 on base. Pete Alonso, 320 on base. He hasn't been what the team necessarily paid for. Now, Leody Taveras is up to a 375 on base. I still don't know if I trust that, but that said, Colton Cowser, along with a guy in Kobe Mayo, have just been hitting below the middle sign of 200. Jeremiah Jackson, after a nice start to the season, he's still hitting for a 256 with the average, but on base percentage is a 271. And then Taylor Ward, he had 30+ home runs last season with the Angels, just 2 this season, but it's giving you 4 on base. Meanwhile, for the Tampa Bay Rays, this has been a top 8 team in terms of run creation. You've got Junior Caminero giving you over 355 on base, 13 home runs, and then a pair of guys in Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz, both give you over a 370 on base. They've got a young gun that they just called up, and Victor Mesa Jr. out there in the outfield. He's been able to move the line a little bit, and Chandler Simpson continues to be one of the best base heroes in all baseball. Hits for darn near 300. Now, the Rays are in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of open area. They just signed Craig Kimbrell. My goodness, that's not good to say the least. But that said, you've been able to have Ian Seymour look much better recently. Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker, these guys are giving you sub 350 ERA. Garrett Clevenger comes off the injury list. And for the Orioles, this has been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. We have really seen the likes of Grant Wolfram, along Dietrich Enns, this long guys, not be able to hold up their ends of the bargain. Ryan Helsley is now on the injury list. Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Akins is coming off the injury list, have been awful. But Uncle Rico Garcia, Yanir Cano, they've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. So interesting circumstance here. 9 or less like the over 9.5 or the under. One to lay up to minus 107 on the Rays, plus 109 or better. Looking at the Orioles, 917, 918 on the card. It's the Angels. They're going to be on the road against the Tigers as Casey Mize goes for the Tigers and Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Angels. Angels are between even money to plus 105. Meanwhile, minus 120 to minus 126. Then I'm around Detroit. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even to minus 110. I know it's been bad for the Tigers, but you know what? We're going to go back to them here. I will take them on the money line at a minus 136 or less with Casey Mize. He has been able to do a great job this season. The struggles of the Tigers are certainly not on Mr. Mize, who's been able to supply you with a 247 ERA, 252 fielding dependent. He's given up less than 1 home run per 9 innings, about 9 strikeouts per 9. He's been great. And Jose Soriano, he's been tremendous as well. 244 ERA, 0.7 home runs, and strikeouts per 9 innings. Going back to last season, since the beginning of the 2025 campaign, he's got an ERA that's a full 2 points better when he's away from home rather than at home. So I do think that you're going to get a low-scoring slog of a game, but it's just hard to back this Angels bullpen. Like, time and time again, these knuckleheads absolutely light games on fire, and they just don't know who they're able to throw out the bullpen at this point, because that Chase still set to be able to give you a sub-3 ERA this far, and Jose Fermin, he's been okay as well, but they had to use him up yesterday, and then you've got a lot of mix-and-match guys, like a Nick Sandlin, who's got a 10 plus ERA. Ryan Johnson posted up an over 10 ERA. They were looking to Drew Pomeranz. He's been awful, and now he's on the injured list as well. They kicked the tires on Jordan Romano, Alek Manoah. That's how bad this bullpen is right now. And for the Angels, they got off to a really nice start with their offense away from home this season. That's been starting to toilet bowl a little bit. Mike Trout continues to do Mike Trout things. 13 home runs. He's been able to give you a 400 base. And Zach Neto has been able to supply a lot of power. He's been able to give you 10 plus home runs, but he's still hitting below a 235. This is very much an all or nothing team with Jorge Soler back to hitting below a 225 after a nice start to the season. He has been cooling down a little bit. You've got Joe Adell setting fire to the rain. 8 home runs. He's been one of the main guys to be able to move the line for this team, but Logan O'Hoppy's hitting at 200. A lot of these veterans have struggled, and for the Tigers, this continues to be a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation. Likes of Jahmai Jones, Zach McKinstry, Gage Workman, all hitting below a $185. That's a big giant issue. Heyo Lee, along with Matt Vierling, Wencio Perez. That's rough, but Dylan Dingler has been able to give you 8 plus home runs. He's been able to give you a little bit of pop, and then Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal at the top. They're giving you over a 390 on base. Cole Keith has been able to move the line as well, and this is a Tigers team that has been respectable with their bullpen. They're about league average with regards to that ERA. Brand Herter and Bert Schmidt hurting the injured list. That hurts his team, and Tyler Holton, he's provided an ERA that is above a 4, but you've got a guy in Will Vest who's coming off the injured list. Kyle Finnegan has been able to give you sub 2 ERA. Kenley Jansen is not great, but I do like Brendan Hennefy as well, and I think that both of these starters really shove here, but I do think that the Tigers get the job done. I said my total 7.4, like the under, and for the Tigers, willing to lay up to a minus 135 on the money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Royals are going to be playing us to the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole is on the bump for the Yankees, and Noah Cameron is on the bump for the Royals. The total on this game, it is 9, over and under, both at minus 110, with Garrett Cole and the Yankees are between minus 145 to a minus 155, plus 123 to a plus 132. That is your number on the Royals, and for the Yankees, I set them at a minus 166 on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run half with them, you're going to be finding that right around plus 108 to a plus 115. Pretty much any sort of plus money I was willing to fire in on the Yankees run line, so I'm going to be looking there. Garrett Cole looked like his normal self in his first start of the season. Goes up against the Blue Jays last week, 6 shutout innings. Now, he did have only 2 strikeouts there. You figured that the swing and miss stuff might not necessarily be amazing, but I do like the way that he looked there. And for Noah Cameron, I feel like he's posted a ERA that doesn't represent exactly what he's done thus far this season. For Cameron, 4.72 ERA, but a 3.60 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. It's a Yankees lineup that also has been very inconsistent away from home. They entered Indy yesterday, averaging about 5.7 runs per game at home, more like 3.9 runs per game away from home. Obviously, that wound up a little bit because Bailey Falter very much lived up to his name yesterday for the Kansas City Royals, but that's it for the Yankees. You still do need to get a little bit more on the infield. Jazz Chisholm is out hitting about a 240. That's been able to help out the team, but the entirety of the catcher spot has been an issue. Ryan McMahon is not giving you too much. Going to the outfield, you've had Trent Grisham not doing an amazing job, but Cody Bellinger up to a 383 on base. He was able to get a home run yesterday. Aaron Judge, Ben Rice, both of these guys, 15 plus home runs. Both guys give you over a 360 on base. So these guys have been able to do a rock solid job on that front. And then for the Royals, you've got Miguel Garcia who's been able to do about a 260, but the issue continues to be Salvador Perez along with Vinny Pasquantino, just not giving you what you need in terms of on base percentage. Both of these guys, a 291 on base or less. For Pasquantino, just 5 home runs as far this season. Well, Perez has been able to give you 9, but he's been doing less of a job of getting on base than Pasquantino. Carter Jensen has come back to earth a little bit. He, Nick Lofton are both hitting between about a 220 to a 230. Jack Aglione has come back to earth a little bit. He's not necessarily give you a lot of power, and this is a Royals team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Vance Strom, Carlos Estevez being on the injury list have really hurt this team, but Lucas Arcege, Daniel Lynch, you're able to throw in there as well. John Schreiber, they've been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Alex Lang has been terrible. Steven Cruz has been terrible. These long guys, they're just not holding down the fort end. For the Yankees, David Bednar and Camilo Doval have not necessarily been amazing, but still, you've had likes of Tim Hill, Brand Hendrick, Fernando Cruz be able to give you a sub 3 ERA. So, interesting spot here. I know that they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, and the Royals are averaging about a full run half per game more at home rather than away from home, but like the under, so I total at 80.3. I do like the Yankees on the run line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Twins. They're going to be on the road against the White Sox as David Sandlin is on the bump for the White Sox, and Connor Breelip goes for Minnesota. Minnesota is a underdog here of anywhere between plus 102 to a plus 110, minus 120 to minus 130 is the number on the south side, or 8.5 is the total. The under is anywhere between minus 120 to even money. Same goes for the over, and I'm seeing one straight 8 out there. That under is minus 110, and the over is minus 110 for the Twins. I was willing to take anything of a plus 117 or better with them on the money line, and I do think that we should be able to get it once we get these timelines out. For David Sandlin, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him. As for David Sandlin, thus far this season, he has made 6 minor league starts and has won 16 and a third innings. Now, 0.55 ERA is great. Again, what sort of length are you going to get? Because this White Sox bullpen bullpen is not very good. Right now, they are 27th in terms of bullpen ERA at a 4.75. They just placed Jordan Hicks on the injury list. Jordan Leisure, he's leisurely giving you a 6 ERA. Now, Sean Newcomb has been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. Grant Taylor has been able to hold down the 4. Brian Hudson has been solid, but Serenity Dominguez is completely untrustworthy as a bullpen piece. These guys that have been mix and match guys like Lucas Sims have all been absolutely terrible. And for the Minnesota Twins, they are 26th in terms of bullpen ERA. Been able to get a little bit of better production out of Taylor Rogers along with Eric Orze, but outside of Cody Funderburk, it's just not a very trustworthy bullpen. Now you've got Simeon Woods Richardson in this bullpen. You've got Yandris Gomez, Anthony Banda, Andrew Morris, all providing north of 3.85 ERA. And for the Twins, this team has been able to get a lot of boom out of Byron Buxton. Now has been in and out of the lineup over the last few weeks, but 15 plus home runs, you really can't complain there. And then you've got other guys that are starting to move the line a little bit more for this team. Cody Clemens is up to a 3.25 on base. He'll certainly take that. Lucas Shaw, Tristan Gray, these guys are about a 2.35. You're going to need a little bit more there, but also Martin Darnier, a 4 on base along Trevor Larnage. Brooks Lee has been solid as well. And then on the flip side for the White Sox, Andrew Benintendi, a 270 on base with not a lot of power has been an issue, and you're going to need these home run hitters to be able to do a little bit more in terms of consistency because you've got all 3 guys in Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, Mataka Murakami hitting a 240 or lower, but that said, with Murakami and Miguel Vargas both over a 360 on base, all 3 of these guys have been able to give you 11 plus home runs thus far this season, with Murakami carrying the mail with 18 home runs thus far this season, so I do think they're going to be able to get quite a bit of offense in this game for Prelip. He's been posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about like a 4.03, and his fielding dependent more around about a 4.24, 1.2 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings. So I do think that you get a high scoring game like the oversub I told at 8.6 plus 118 or better. Going to be looking at that Twins money line. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Astros. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom is on the bum for the Rangers, and Mike Burrows goes for the Astros. Astros do find themselves as an underdog between plus 138 to a plus 145. Meanwhile, minus 164 to a minus 170 is that number on Texas. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And for Burrows, I did set this Astros money line price at a plus 187 because I just don't really trust in him. And an Astros bullpen that's dead last in the big leagues in terms of opening ERA, and we just saw Jason Alexander get completely destroyed yesterday for the team. Like, holy crud. He gave up 8 runs in the first inning. They just had to have him eat it for a few innings while they tried to be able to get guys up and loose. But I am for the Astros. There's just really no trusting in this pitching staff right now. You've got Steven Okert who's been able to supply a sub 4 ERA, but then you got the likes of AJ Bluba, Aniel De Los Santos, Brian Abreu, who have all been supplying over a 4.20 ERA. Nate Pearson is coming off the injury list. That should help out a little bit, but Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader being on the injury list, that absolutely kills his team. And for Mike Burrows, right now, a nice hearty 5.75 ERA. The swing and miss stuff has been down this year. He's been getting fewer than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate, that's well above a 3, and he's giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings. So that's really not a place where you want to be. Jacob deGrom has honestly not been amazing here over the last few starts. I do think that this could be a little bit of a get-right spot for him. The Astros are averaging less than 3.3 runs per game here in the month of May, but 3.86 ERA, 4.21 fielding dependent, still getting the 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, been killed by the deep ball. He's given up 2 home runs per 9 innings, and you do have Yordan Alvarez along Christian Walker, who have both been able to supply 14 plus home runs for the Astros. Alvarez continues to give you that 400 plus on base. You've got more of a 340 on base for Walker along Tisac Paredes. Paredes has not really gotten it going with regards to power, and then just the outfield guys like Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith, Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole, these guys hitting a 225 or lower. That's been an issue. Meanwhile, for the Rangers, up until yesterday, they were averaging about 3 runs per game at home. You still have Evan Carter sitting well below the middle sign of 200, but you've got guys that are now moving the line. To call same, Alejandro Ozuna has been able to give you 425 on base. Brandon Nimmo's hitting at 270. Ezekiel Duran, Foscue at the second base spot. These guys are hitting at 275 or better. Jake Berger has been able to supply 9 home runs, but he really doesn't get on base. Good news is the Texas Rangers, they do find themselves atop the American League in terms of bullpen ERA with the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, both being able to give you sub 3 ERA. Now, Robert Garcia is back on the injury list, but Tyler Alexander, Jalen Beeks, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Do think that the Rangers go out there and dominate. I was willing to take a plus 106 or better with regards to the run line. Right now, you're finding that as high as a plus 145. I'm more or less seeing a lot of plus 130s, but either way, going to be in on the run line. And I did set my total here at a 7.4. Do like the 7 after the under. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Blue Jays Jays playing us to the Miami Marlins. Eri Perez is on the bump for the Marlins, and Kevin Gausman goes for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are a favorite here, anywhere between minus 150 to minus 162. Meanwhile, between plus 130 to plus 136, that's your number on Miami. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Under is even to minus 105. If you're looking to lay a run half, that's plus 135 to plus 140 with the Toronto Blue Jays. And mentioned this with our good friend Rob Donaldson. I am going to be willing to take a shot on that run line. You've got a Miami Marlins team that has been very inconsistent with regards to the power. They've been able to do a nice job in terms of finding a way, in terms of moving the line, getting on base, but they are a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs out of right back bases. Liam Hicks has really had to be the boom man for this team, as he's been able to give you 10 plus home runs thus far this season, and he's been hitting darn near 270. Then you've got Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, who've been able to above a 300 as well. Javier Sancho, when he's been out there, he's been able to about a 250 or so, but so many guys like Jacob Marcy, Connor Norby, throwing there Alberto Hernandez, Kyle Sowers even, who's hitting for a 225 or lower, Joe Mack, all these guys, they've been a little bit disappointing, and for Sowers, just has not looked like himself since coming off the injured list for the Blue Jays. Even though this is a team that's only averaging about 4 runs per game, that is in the bottom 10 in all of baseball, they still have plenty of guys that are moving the line. Miles Straw has went down the toilet bowl a little bit here recently, but Ernie Clement continues at above a 285. Flagler Jr. entered into yesterday, having hit just 3 home runs this far this season. He was not good in terms of being a whip for power last season, but still, he's been able to give you over a 375 on base. You've been able to get relatively good production as well out of some of these mix and match guys. Kazuma Okamoto has been able to give you 10 plus home runs thus far this season, and you've had Yohendrick Pinago be able to about a 300 as well. Getting back George Springer, and he looks a little bit more like his normal self. Should be able to help out as well. And for the Blue Jays, this team has been about league average in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got the likes of Tyler Rogers, Braden Fisher, Louis Varland, who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Jeff Hoffman, Mason Fluharty have just been an issue, and Tommy Nance has not necessarily been himself as well. But I don't think that you're going to need much of the bullpen here, because Kevin Gausman has been absolutely tremendous here for the Toronto Blue Jays. Right now, he is supplying an ERA that is about a 323, but the fielding independent is a 285. Swing and miss stuff, it's neither here nor there. 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.4 walks, 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. He's doing a great job in terms of not hurting himself. And then for Eri Perez, we've got an ERA of a 491 for him, but he has been Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn 2.0, 4.3 walks, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. And you just look at the career numbers for Eri Perez. This is not just this year, but this is the entirety of his career. When he has been on the road, he has given up over 2 home runs per 9 innings with a 5.30 ERA, 2.71 ERA with about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings when he's been at home. So I do think that the Blue Jays go out there, dominate this game. I do like them on the money line, pretty much any sort of plus money. I was willing to take a shot there. Did so by total at 7.9, so like the 7 after the over as well. 927, 928 on the card. It's the Nationals. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians. Gavin Williams is on the bump for the Guardians. Miles Michaelis goes for Washington. Total on this game is 8, over and under both at minus 110, minus 180 to minus 190 is that number on the Guardians. Anywhere between plus 155 to a plus 165. That is your number on the Washington Nationals. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Guardians, that's between plus 110 to a plus 115, and I was willing to take anything of a plus 108 or better for Gavin Williams. You do have to have a little bit of concern with regards to command and the walks, but this guy's been able to do a tremendous job in terms of being able to get strikeouts with Williams. Right now, 3.25 ERA compared to a 3.33 fielding independent. 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's gotten the walks down to about 3 walks per 9 innings. Last year, he was hovering more around about 4 walks per 9 innings, and for Gavin Williams, he certainly has been able to excel at home this far this season. 2.51 ERA at home. At home, he's giving up less than 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, more like a 3.89 ERA away from him, and you do want to be checking in before the game as to whether or not Miles Michaelis is going to start, because if they throw out there someone like a PJ Poole and Richard Dickey Lovelady, they're utilizing an opener for Miles Michaelis. We've seen that quite a bit. I believe that he has made 5 appearances as a bulk guy, but even though it's been better for him recently, and he gave up 0 runs in 5 innings in his last appearance against the Atlanta Braves, still a 6.17 ERA with a 5.71 fielding independent, 2.1 home runs, 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's a big giant issue, and for the Washington Nationals, this is a team that does rank in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, even though Richard Dickey Lovelady has been doing a little bit of a better job for this team with a sub-3 ERA along with Orlando Revolta. They have had someone like a Mitchell Parker providing an ERA that's above a 5. Ciano Perez has not necessarily been too great for this team as well, so you've got quite a few guys that have been having their issues, to say the least. Brad Lord has been really good as a long guy. I fear that they might have used him up a little bit too much a few days ago, but the likes of Andre Granillo and company have not been amazing, and for the Cleveland Guardians, they've been more of a league average team with regards to their bullpen this season, as you've had Tim Aaron really step up. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but We've had some issues with regards to some of these mix and match guys. Getting Sean Armstrong off the injury list should be able to help them out, as he's been posting up about a 3.40 ERA. Cody Hewer as well. He and Eric Sabrowski give you a sub-3 ERA. They had to throw out there a young guy in Will Dylon, who was making his first MLB appearance yesterday. So that shows you that they're sort of on fumes a little bit with Matt Festa not having a fiesta. He's providing over a 4 ERA. But for the Guardians, they've been averaging more around about 4.5 runs per game in the month of May thus far this season. But that said, it is a bunch that they're not really getting it out of the superstar guys. Stephen Kwan is hardly hitting above a 200 right now. Rhys Hoskins had a home run a few days ago, and the on-base percentage is a 335. .89 average with like 5 home runs this far this season. Jose Ramirez, 344 on base with 8 home runs. You just expect a little bit more out of these guys. Meanwhile, Travis Bazzana, a 400 on base. Brian Roque is actually giving you a 380 on base. David Fry has stepped up. He's giving you about a 350 on base. So you've got the lesser guys really stepping up while you need a little bit more out of Kyle Manzardo and company. But I do think that that's going to be coming around, and I do think that Miles Michaelis is a good way to be able to get it started. So I do like the Guardians here on the run line. I was willing to take a plus 110 or better, and with this total, I set mine at an 8.4. Here at the 8, I do like the over. Wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Atlanta Braves. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Connolly Early is on the bump for the Sox, and Bryce Elder hopes to not look elderly for Atlanta. Braves are between minus 118 to minus 130 favorites, between plus $1, so even money, to plus 110 is your number on Boston. 8 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and I do like that over. I did set my total at an 8.1. Don't want to go past a minus 120, but I am going to be willing to lay a minus 120 here with the Atlanta Braves. I know that Bryce Elder, if you take a look at the baseball savant stuff, he does not necessarily have the world's greatest stuff in the world. He's not lighting the world on fire or anything like that, but that said, he's been highly effective. I do not think that he's going to be maintaining a 2 ERA for the entirety of the season, but he's been able to do a nice job in terms of not hurting himself. 0.7 home runs with 2.8 walks per 9 innings, getting only about 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That fielding dependent is more around about a 327, but Connolly Early is also doing for a little bit of regression as well, and he's lucky to have the 3.33 ERA that he's got right now. That fielding dependent is more around about a 472, 1.5 home runs, 3.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, and for the Red Sox, this is a team that entered into yesterday averaging about 2.9 runs per game at Fenway this season. Do I think that it's going to be having a little bit of positivity? Yes, and you've got guys that are moving the line for this team right now, as you've got Ceddanne Rafaela, Wilson Contreras, Wiley Abreu, all at least a 275 for this team. Not necessarily a ton of power out of these guys, but you've had Abreu be able to give you 8+ home runs. Wilson Contreras, he's been able to find his way to 11 bombs this season. The bottom of the lineup in the infield just continues to be such a big issue. Caleb Durbin hitting below the Beddoes line of 200. Marcelo Myers hitting at 215. This is the outfield, and he had a home run yesterday, but Jaron Duran has been absolutely awful as well. One thing that has not been awful for the Red Sox has been their bullpen, as they continue to be a top 8 team in terms of bullpenning rate. Garrett Whitlock has been a little bit up and down this far this season, but he's still posting up a sub 350 ERA. They're getting Danny Klum off the injury list. They did have to use him yesterday, but only for about 11 pitches. As we know, Aroldis Chapman has been one of the best closers in all baseball, but Tyler Semenijo has been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. Giovanni Morin is giving you a sub 350 ERA. Justin Slayton hasn't not necessarily been himself since coming off the injury list, but overall, I've been liking what I've been seeing out of these guys. And then you've got Robert Suarez along with Raisel Iglesias in the 8th and 9th inning for the Braves. These two guys along Dylan Lee have both been able to supply a sub 250 ERA. You've got a guy in Tyler Kinley who, ever since he's come over from the Rockies, he's been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. Recognize that he's been a little bit more shaky here recently, but overall it's a Braves bullpen that has been able to do a nice job there. But for the Braves, they're also averaging 6 runs per game away from home. You've had Albies give you 8+ home runs. Matt Olson is up to 15 bombs. He's been able to provide about a 345 on base. Ronald Acuna Jr. comes off the injury list, and that's big because Drake Baldwin, he's currently banged up, but like Harris continues at above at 300. He's been able to give you 12 home runs. Austin Riley hasn't even been himself. Have to feel like that injury that he suffered last year still affecting him, but so Dom Smith hitting above a 300 as well. So I do think that for the Braves, they do a nice job in terms of slugging their way to victory, like the 8 to the over, so I might tell it at 8.1. I do like the Braves up to a minus 120 on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from the fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you, for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, Lars CM, they meet us on Matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire into whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.